the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. My name is Brian Wallace, and I am the MS Michigan Man 64. The MS Michigan Man 64 podcast is about chronic disease awareness. I have had multiple sclerosis for the last 27 years. It's an invisible chronic disease that I've been battling for half of my life. I want to share with you what it is like living with the chronic disease from my experiences and the experiences of other chronic disease warriors. We can fight to have a voice to those that want to listen. Together, we can motivate and educate. Hi, welcome back to the MS Michigan Man 64 podcast. Today, I am sitting down with an MSer from the state of Florida. I met Marcus a couple months ago on social media. We started talking, and we have the connection of playing college football. He played a little bit of college football. I played college football. And the other thing that I also want to say, he's a military vet. He served time with the U.S. Army, and I really want to thank him for his service. But please welcome to my podcast, Marcus. How you doing today, Marcus?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm grateful to be here. It's a privilege for me to be here. And I just really have this model inside of me that whatever's going to get me ultimately is going to have to catch me. So I keep it moving as much as I possibly can.
Amen,
It
brother.
was a good day.
Amen.
Good day, man.
Amen, brother, man. We take it day by day.
Yes, sir. Every day and twice on Sundays, man. Every day, twice on Sundays, man.
Right. So, Marcus, man, you got your diagnosis in 95. And I know this was back like in your military days, you know, and can you just take us through what was going on, you know, in your life that threw up the red flag that something was going on that you needed to go and see a doctor?
Well, even though I was on the military and the Army, my specialty by being in the Army was a physical therapy assistant. And so I knew about certain things, but you just learn about them in school, but you'll never expect that you'll get those things. And so I was playing basketball. I played basketball because I really couldn't do contact football. So I was playing basketball. And this one day I was there at the gym, and all of a sudden I didn't have the ability to dribble. And I thought something was strange with that, but I kept trying to push through that. And so as I'm playing, I run and turn around because I was a defensive back, also a linebacker in college. I've been a defensive back since elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew how to turn around and run backwards like drinking water. And so as I was doing that, I almost fell. I was like, whoa, something's going on. And then I shot the basketball, and it was doing like a knuckleball. It was like floating and doing kind of like I did a knuckleball in baseball. And I was like, man, there's something really going on. So the next morning I go to sick call. Let him know what was going on with me, what I was feeling. I had to let him know that, listen, I don't know everybody who comes in here to sick call, but I'm serious because I know my body. I know what's going on with me. This is not something that's usual. It's not something like a code. I know something was going on. And so they kind of gave me the look like, yeah, I hear you, like a dime a dozen. It's hard in the military to let them know that we're individuals,
Right.
that each person got the same thing as everybody. And so I came in there and let them know what my symptoms was. So they gave me the standard routine. Here's some days off for sick call, blah, blah, blah. No running, jumping, all that kind of stuff. And then also you're complaining about your eyes. Let's get you set up to see optometrist, to see a doctor for your eyes. Let's get you set up with something else. So they did the basic things of a CAT scan, an MRI, not an MRI, CAT scan. And they also did an x-ray.
Mm-hmm.
And then also see the eye doctor. He's letting me know it's going to get worse before it ever gets better. And so that was no prognosis of what was going on. Just kind of let me know to buckle down and understand that it's going to get worse before it gets better. A couple of weeks after that, I started getting better by forcing myself to be able to dribble, forcing myself to be able to run and turn around like I know I can. And so I just really kind of gritted it. They didn't give me a clear-cut understanding. Pushing forward outside of that, being outside of the military, because I got injured, of all things, with my knee. And it pains me today to say I got injured playing flag football, but this guy thought he's going to get scouted out by the NFL or some college team was going to scout him out. He ran into my knee and kept running into my knee as I was playing, trying to be as far back from the action as I could, playing free safety.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy ran into me, and I was like, man, you got to relax. They're not going to scout you out to find you out here.
Right.
Did the second time. And I didn't know, but driving in the car with a friend of mine, I looked down at my right knee, and the side of my knee, which is my outside where my fibula is, it was sticking out. I was
Mm,
like, whoa, something wrong. And so what happened was I ended up having to get a scope. They had to do some cleaned up my meniscus, also some lateral horn releases and things of that nature in my knee. And so from that, it just kept swelling up. And they gave me the shot, infamous shot in your knee because of swelling. Put the needle all in there and gave me a shot in there in my knee to see if that steroid is going to help it to clean itself up. It never did. And anytime I run, it swell up, swell
mm,
up, swell up, swell up. And so that's what initially got me in what I'm looking for, word I'm looking for. That's what got me in the compensation for. It was for my knee
right.
connected because of my, and then later on, a friend of mine was getting out of the military, and he said, listen, make sure you make copies of all your military records because sometimes they get lost up there in St. Louis.
Mm,
I said, okay, I'll make sure when I get out. And I was doing some PRN work as needs work on the outside, doing physical therapy at nursing homes and things of that nature. But I made those copies and they said, well, we can't keep you here because you can't run. Like, we're not going to have a walking soldier. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to be for fit to
yeah.
duty, for
Right.
duty. And so they end up saying, well, appreciate you. Time to get you go. Sayonara. See you later. And so I got out because of my knee, which gave me that 10% service connection to the military. And later on, I found out that when I was out of the military, I was having some similar issues with my body and my eyesight and all that kind of stuff. And so it tied me into the military. And then I had to make sure that they understood it was multiple sclerosis tied into. I didn't find out it was multiple sclerosis until like, man, some 3, 4 years after I got out of the military.
Right.
When a yeah, when a neurologist came in there when I was in the ER and I got seen, they wanted to admit me because they thought I had Guillain-Barré, where it got all the way up to like waist high. The numbness got all the way up to like waist high.
Hmm.
And they want to make sure it get to my chest because they was going to have to put me on a ventilator if it did. And it didn't. So he ended up doing a spinal tap on my back, and he did that spinal fluid and found that I had multiple sclerosis.
Yeah.
And so that how my multiple sclerosis started going. He said you had relapsing remitting, and I was like, wow, yeah, I
And
heard of that in school.
yeah, and I mean, and you dealt with this for like multiple years beforehand with
Yeah,
in the military. I knew the military didn't want to diagnose you, and to me,
right.
when I heard your story, it was just crazy, on like just the hoops that you had to jump through just to get the medical attention.
Yeah. Yeah. It's even more of a hoops after that. Once I found out that MS, and I want to tie back into what I had in the military, and I'm glad I kept my records and I had a copy of it because they wouldn't believe it. It's almost felt like I was taking money out of their pocket. Like if I give you this rating, I'm going to take $5 out of my pocket, take it away from my family.
Yeah.
They didn't understand. I didn't believe they understood that. No, this is due to a person because of their service to the country. It's not personal, but if the person is now broken, you got to help get him to a place that he can be compensated for whatever he's going through. And so that slow progress from that started happening. It took me even a couple of years after that to get everything service connected and tied in. Later on, they gave me the 100% of a military service connection. And I tell people now today when I meet guys, a buddy of mine who got 100%, I was letting him know that 100% means that there is 100% of something infected to you or your body, in your body.
Hmm.
It's not something to wear stirred about. It's not something to bang your chest about. It just means that there's a lot going on for it to be 100%.
Right.
And something I switch in a heartbeat to be healed, to be strong, to be fit, to be an athlete, to be able to do things I want to do. I change that for a heartbeat of 100% and have healing.
Yeah.
I change that in for for a quick second. So, but this is a part of the cup that I've been given, the cross I got to carry. And so I'm grateful that I can have enough stamina to continue to go through it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this, Marcus. When you first went through this the diagnosis, I mean, you were young. I mean, you were young like me. I was 27 when I got diagnosed. How did you handle the mental part of it being that young? I mean, I know how you are now. I mean,
Yeah.
we're older guys. We're 55, but how did you handle it,
Yeah.
that mental part when you were young?
The strange thing about it is, um, it's almost like I had to adapt quickly. I didn't know how to handle it at first because all I was getting now, I'm outside the military. They give me all this kind of medication. They're putting me on this shot stuff that you got to do, to subcutaneous shots that you got to do. I think it was called Rebif at that time, maybe.
Yeah,
And then I was
yeah,
finding then they're just giving me medication. I had a bag full of uh, of medication that has been prescribed to me. So it's like this and that, and everything else had a side effect from that. And so I didn't know how to handle it. Then they would give me steroids, and I didn't know how to handle steroids. I didn't know that steroids would cause me to gain weight. I didn't know that steroids would cause me to be, I could be happy for a second. The next moment, anything could set me off and I go like to the left
Mm-hmm.
and be really upset. So I was finding that mentally I was unstable for me. I was crying one moment, I was happy one moment. I was just feeling like, oh my goodness, I couldn't get control of what was happening to me.
Yeah.
Uh, but that time, I'm grateful that I could at least had the mental capacity to at least be able to understand that I'm going through something and I got to figure this out. I remember going back to my neurologist at that time in the Midwest and like, what's going on? He was like, oh, we had to prescribe this. I said, I didn't know I get this. He said, oh yeah, we didn't know this was going to happen to you, so we had to give you this. And I'm like, you don't have like a baseline of what's going to happen with the person. He says, no, MS is one of those things that you can have two people with MS and they can have two alternate different things. And that's probably the first time I ended up going to see a mental health person.
Mm-hmm.
And Not because I didn't think mental health was good, but where I grew up, people didn't do it. People didn't go see mental health doctors.
No.
What I was learning growing up is that wasn't no toughness to go see somebody and talk about your situation, go talk about what's going on with you. So I didn't go see a mental health person for some time, even though I found out later on that that's part of my compensation was my mental health.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. So I went to go see a doctor that was down in that area. He was like, yeah, you got to see somebody for mental health. He says, part of your compensation is mental health. I was like, oh, so I don't have to just go through this by myself. And that's what I want anyone from 1 to 30 years with me, with 30 years with multiple sclerosis, to know that you can talk to somebody.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing is to be your own patient advocate and make sure you don't just keep your mouth shut about what's going on with you, but talk with somebody who's paid to be able to talk to you and be able to show you and counsel you and point directions to you. And so during that time period, I was all over the map. I was all over the place and I didn't know what was going on. Uh, and it wasn't a good time for me
Mm-hmm.
because I just didn't know that the medications were causing all these different type of symptoms to happen in me.
Yeah.
But I'm grateful today, yeah, as 30-year survivor, thriver, MS, that now I can understand it, understand what's going on with me and my body, and understand what I can and cannot do, and then mentally to understand how to pocket things, to be able to talk about things. And I didn't know until I recently, I mean, not recently, but when I started seeing that mental health provider at that time period, she says, how do you think that people can help you if they don't know what's going on with you? And I thought it was a badge of honor, not spreading this to my family, to my children that was like I had teenagers at that time, and let them know what was going on with their dad, just kind of holding off to myself. And I knew I had this shot out to get myself. And then for like a day, I probably had this flu-like symptoms where I couldn't really be around people and be around folks because I didn't want to get sick or didn't want to let them see me not as I want to be. And so I held a lot of things in, which
We
wasn't
had
good until that.
we had that. I mean, we had that mentality. We're the same
Yeah,
age. We're in that same age group, and we have that mentality. And plus, we also have the athlete mentality that you're not
correct. Correct.
you're not injured. You're just hurt. You're hurt. Rub.
Yeah.
Get up, get up, get up, shake it off, and keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That is it, man. And so a combination of all those things and where I grew up just really amplified not being strong enough to be able to share with someone.
I
And
mean,
so that person know that how can you expect people to help you if they don't know what's going on with you?
yeah,
And it hit me like a ton. I was like, wow, you're right. I can't expect somebody to help me. But it still didn't get better. I still want to make sure that I didn't show that weakness to others. Being in different type of places and settings, I want to make sure I kept that to myself because at that time, no one knew I had MS unless I shared it with them because I wasn't having like the symptoms that I couldn't walk or symptoms that I couldn't do other things. But when I first got diagnosed, I had to go through those things with I couldn't write. It was hard for me to articulate my words. It was hard for me to think clearly. So I went through a gamut of emotional things, like a roller coaster going up and down, left and right, and all that kind of stuff.
yeah, no
Where it
doubt.
just kind of, yeah. And so I think the mental toughness helped because playing sports, get up or keep going through it. I remember getting hurt in football, and they were like, okay, you take this day off. We're not going to let you practice Monday through Friday, but on Saturday it's game time.
Right.
We got to go. And so they just do everything. They make sure that I can prepare to play in the game. And now looking back at it, I was like, man, was so out there, just wanted to play the game and be out there with my brothers and just really compete that I didn't think about the care that I need to give to myself. So today it's finally hit me because my MS specialist said like, yeah, you got stuff in your brain. Not only the lesions from your MS, not only high blood pressure from that I can see on your MRI, but I also can see there's some, you've been like hitting, you're concussed. And I was like, what do you mean? She said, well, listen, you hit your head a lot. I said, oh, yeah, I played football. She said, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. But I can see that in your head. So she said, your head, it really has a lot of trauma
Yeah.
in your brain. I was like, wow, okay, never knew that. All these years, so I'm first day born, learning from my MS specialist that I had a lot of stuff in my brain. She says, yeah, you got to really start taking care of your brain because you're got a lot of stuff that you're dealing with up in there. And so we got to make sure we help
Yeah.
you going forward. Took a long time, but I'm still here. I'm grateful for that.
Yeah. I know that when I got diagnosed, man, this is a life changer, man, and it's a life changer for everybody involved. How did your family, when you got diagnosed, how did they understand the disease, and how did they, if they didn't understand it, how did they like learn about it?
Well, at that time, I was married to a different person at that time, and I didn't really share with a lot of different people. But here's the thing, I didn't know that my spouse at that time was weaponizing my injury, my MS injury, and would be behind the scenes, like telling the kids, like, leave your dad alone. Your dad's got MS. And so he's sometimes not himself and he goes this way and that way. Well, it's because of the medication. It's because I was doing things and I didn't understand how to handle it. And so later on in life, she was using that for her advantage to make sure that she had good input with our children, which was wrong, totally wrong.
Yeah.
But now I understand today, having a relationship with my children who are now getting ready to be 38, 35, and 32 years old, like, oh, that was happening behind the scene. I knew it was something, but now I got better understanding as my adult children have children to be able to talk with them about what's going on. So I didn't really share at that time. It was always a private thing for me. It's a private battle. It was a private storm that I was always in by myself.
Mhm.
But knowing that I ended up getting my master's degree. And so I knew cognitively I could remember things because that was one of the things that she would say, well, you're always forgetting everything. You're always forgetting stuff because of the MS. And I was like, well, maybe I'm forgetting everything. Maybe it's because of the MS. But after I got my master's degree, I was like, nah, it's not cognitively. It's not because I forget stuff. It's just because of the way it is and the way stuff was going on at that time.
Stress.
So freedom,
Yeah.
yeah, and stress. And stress was a big one.
Yeah.
Stress was a big one. It hit me when the military, when I was out, not in the military, when I was out here as a civilian working in the VA system, that one provider said that you're going to have a widowmaker. And I said, excuse me? She said, you're about to have a widowmaker. You're over 200 something dollars, 200 on your blood pressure, on your systolic, and your diastolic is high as 100 something too. You're about to have a widowmaker at any point in time. And I was like, whoa, okay, I got to change this. So I used to play football at 215, probably the heaviest, 220 at the heaviest. I got up to like 265 pounds. And so I was a big guy, wasn't taking care of myself, but I had to make sure I make some changes for my own health. And if I don't take care of me, then who will? So I made a shift for me and change to make sure I have to do the things necessary to make sure that I can get through this, get through whatever systems I have in whatever situation I was having, and I wouldn't have no widowmaker. So that led to a lot of other things, but I'm grateful for it and thankful for it.
So how did what did they end up going and putting a stent in then, like to open up the artery?
No, didn't do anything like that.
Okay.
No,
They
didn't
just
do that.
would they do
It's
just
just
like controlled diet then, like just to like help you improve the blood pressure?
they had me see somebody for a dietitian. They also had me see somebody because I was having difficulty. I couldn't shut my brain down to sleep. Like if I woke up, then that means I'm up for the whole rest of the day. So I could be asleep, but if I woke up at any point in time, then I'm up. And I couldn't shut it down, couldn't get this place where I can just reset my mind, just reset my body to just get some rest.
Mm-hmm.
And so I make sure that I started doing stuff and I knew what to do. I knew how to start working out. I knew what I needed to do. And I'd go to the gym about 2 hours each day, Monday through Friday, and work on myself, work on my body, work on my eating habits, making sure I was taking care of my body and giving it the fuel that it needed to be self-sufficient, to be healed
Mm-hmm.
at that point in time. So I did that for a while, for a long time, and I started seeing the weight go off me again, started getting more stronger. And then my son had to talk to me. He says, Dad, are you going to play professional? I said, no. He said, are you going to go back to college? I said, no. He said, Dad, you're still working out like you're in college. I was like, yeah, because it's all I know how to do. So I had to make sure I curtailed that a little bit. So I wasn't doing 2 hours, but I was doing like an hour and 45, an hour 50,
Yeah.
just to make sure I was up there and try to stay as strong as I possibly could. And I didn't know that with MS for me, that whatever you don't use, you sometimes lose.
Right.
And so I would stop playing basketball. I would stop trying to run. I would stop doing a lot of things. And so my body was like, okay, we're shutting that down until he figures out that he needs more help from us. So this is a change and his are growing. And so from day one to now, I'm learning how to grow and learn how to utilize things and learning how to figure things out
I,
because it's the difference between
I
then and now.
Yeah, I learn every day, Marcus. I mean, I've had to make so many adaptations in my life just to keep going. You know, like MS shuts this down for you, and you got to figure out how to
Yeah.
get around it, and because you still want to do the things that you like to do, and and,
Yeah.
and I think that's like everybody we just can't quit. If MS takes this away, okay, MS, screw you. I'm going to figure out how to do it another way, and you do it. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
Exactly.
The mental part of it's hard. Like even using a walking aid. If you have to use a cane or something. I mean, I know I was embarrassed as hell when I first started doing that. It was a mental thing. But you got to
Got
get over that because it helps you.
It does. It does. I was a type of person, and I had the military disabled veterans thing, so I could park in a handicapped parking spot. But I would make it up in my mind that I'm not going to park in a handicapped spot because I think somebody who can't really walk, they need that. So I parked way far as away as I could. And
Hmm.
now today, I found out that man, I hope there's a handicapped spot close that because I may be able to walk in, but I may not be able to walk back out.
Right.
So I'm trying to really align things with my own thinking and learning new things today that's going to help me to get down to where I need to be in future tense. So it's a big change. I had to change a lot of thought process. I had to change a lot of things that I would not do. I would not want to have a cane. I would not want to have a walker. I would not want to have a motorized type of wheelchair. That was then, and now I go to the ER again a couple of months ago, and go see the doctors there, and they come out with, okay, here's your cane, here's your walker, wheeled walker, and here's you need to get one day probably a motorized wheelchair because your fatigue is now at maximum. So I used to get fatigued, but not to the point that I am today. Where today I can do something, next thing you know, I'm just like super tired.
Hmm.
I did physical therapy, came in and did that, and she had only two pounds on my ankles, and I was like, "Man, this is like 50 pounds." She's like, "No, it's just 2 pounds," and I was struggling, sweating. I'm
Yeah.
like, "My goodness, man, like what is going on?" But she said, "Yeah, that's what's going on now." And she said, "You put more effort into just doing things that everybody else takes for granted." To be able to walk, to stand up, to look at this, because you have to think about every step that you're taking. And when I found out that I had proprioception problems, that I didn't know where my body parts were in relationship to my limbs were in relationship to my body, well, that threw a whole nother monkey wrench in that. So I'm thinking my body is close together. No, another leg is across over here. I'm thinking it's this way and that way. It was just really hard. So at one point in time, I go from thinking I can do stuff and walk and getting stronger, but now it just hit me like bam, real fast. Because now I have a progressive type of MS today,
Hmm.
but it's still the same mental battle that you have to get through that situation. Is whatever's necessary to make the day and get through the day. Now I have to choose about what do I want to use my energy for. If I use my energy for something to the left, but I need to do something to the right that's more important, I got to make sure that I save that energy for the thing that's more important
Yeah.
for me. And so I had to learn. And I think there's no time that I'm not trying to learn or trying to hear something different, trying to take inspiration from wherever I can take it to try to make sure that I at least be that later on in life. And I at least try to get strength from the individuals that are going through autoimmune type of diseases or whatever type of disease that they're facing that that everybody doesn't handle it always the same time. And I'm not saying my way is always a better way. I'm just saying that whatever's necessary for an individual to get through whatever they got to get through, then please use it by all means necessary.
Yeah.
By all means necessary. And I
That's
found out that my wife, funny story, my wife, we first started dating each other. And then I said, well, tell me something that you never told somebody else that they may not know about you. She says, well, I have fibromyalgia. I'm like, fibromyalgia? She said, yes, an autoimmune type of disease. I said, oh, wow. Okay. She's telling me about it. I'm like, wow, I really never heard about that. And I said, well, I've got MSer. I know about that. I said, why do you know about that? Because I have a autoimmune type of disease as well.
Mm.
Similar, but not the same. I was like, wow. So I didn't even know that I was part of the autoimmune type of disease person. I
Yeah.
didn't know that until meeting her. And so she knew a lot about what was going on with me and she had great empathy about what was going on with me. And today she still does. And I'm grateful for that because now I have a team in my home, outside of my home. I've got people that I can really talk to, best friend, brother, who he knows who I was and how I was before we met each other in the VA, not
Hmm.
military, excuse me, each other in the VA. And at that time, he didn't know anything about MS. And I just share, hey, I got MS. I've got MS. No, I was just doing what I did. And I remember us back in about, this is now 2025, probably in 2000, 2000 and something, no, 2012, no, 2014. I remember him and I going on a 5K run. And so he's walking, and I was just like a gazelle, just jumping up and down, like, oh man, it's too easy. Let's go, let's go, let's go. And now today, I'm like, man, I can barely walk. I can barely get down over there without falling out and getting tired. And so it's a big change for
Yeah.
him and for myself. And I have a lot of people now that are saying, I know what's going on. I'm praying for you. I hope that you get through this. And so I didn't know that others that I may have come in contact with from back in high school through college till today seen in a different light. And I had to have my mental health person let me know that that's how people see you differently now because you used to be that person who could do a lot of things.
Yeah.
And now they're seeing him not be able to do X, Y, and Z. And you can help with 1, 2, and 3. So it's a change. And now I'm getting more empathy today than I probably have ever had because I'm learning how to open up my mouth and saying like, this is what's going on with me.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of the part that I had the hardest time with is talking, because I was like you. I just wanted to keep my mouth shut and I didn't want to talk
Exactly.
about my disease. It was my disease. It was my problem. I would tell people all the time,
Yeah.
it's my problem, not yours. I mean, it's not your disease, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. My biggest thing was to ask anybody for help. No, no way.
Mm,
There's no way I'd ask for help. No, I
nope.
don't care if I'm struggling. I would not ask for no help.
Right.
My wife was saying at one time, I think probably last year, something like that. She says, I need you to be alive, and I don't need your strength. I don't need all the other things that you used to be able to do. I just need you alive, and I don't need you spending energy on doing stuff that you don't have to do any longer.
Right.
I was like, got you. I had an episode where I knew I came out of this store in the morning to get some breakfast for us here at the house. And as I'm walking, I'm feeling like I'm going to faint and fall out. And I'm looking for a nice place to land,
Hmm.
looking for some grass I can put out on. And this guy got up a big truck and he said, hey, you need some help? And that one instant of a second, I was like, no, I'm going to make it. I got it. I got it. I was like, no, I need some help. He said,
Yeah.
yeah, man. And so he grabbed stuff out of my hand and started helping me to my car, put the stuff down on the floor. He said, I don't want nothing to fall or spill. And I said, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for helping me. I really needed it. I really did.
Yeah.
But I normally would propose not to get that help,
Right.
but I knew I needed it. And so I called my wife immediately and told her, I said, this guy asked me, did I need some help? And I said, yeah. And she said, you did? You did? I said, yeah, I did. I said, I can't believe I even said that, but I knew I wouldn't go. I knew it was too hot out there. I knew I was going to fall. And
Yeah.
if I was trying to carry stuff and make it, it was tough trying to just make it on my own physical strength without balance other things in my hand.
Right.
So sometimes we got to how to, at least I had to learn how to finally ask for, yeah, I need some help.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't mean I'm not strong. It doesn't mean that my meekness is a weakness. It just means that now I have some strength that I have to make sure that I use for what I need to use it for.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm better at it. I still struggle, but I am way better at asking for help than I ever have been. And that's a process. That's a part that, that we have to learn. But here's the part.
Yeah.
Here's the question I got for you, Marcus, because you keep on talking
What's
about
up?
your wife, and I know that you went through a divorce early in your diagnosis, and and then you met your wife. I went through a divorce too, and I was like, I had that mentality, like, who the hell's going to want me? I got a chronic disease. As soon as you tell somebody you got a chronic disease, they're probably just going to run from you. So tell me,
Mm,
I want to ask you how you met your wife and, how you guys ended up getting married, like, leading to a marriage. Because I know a lot of people, they have a lot of fear with dating
mm.
with this disease because dating is hard with this disease. So I just want to hear your story on how you met your wife.
Now, let me tell you this, that my first marriage I was in a relationship with her for 30 years. For 30 years that I was sold into this relationship, sold into this marriage. And then later on, I found out from her, like, who's ever going to want you? That's what's being told to me. Like, who would ever want you? You got MS, you got this, that, and the other. And I'm kind of like, man, yeah, like who would ever want me? Until I started believing in myself and saying, like, who wouldn't? And I wasn't looking for anyone. This individual, my current wife today, she's working in the bank, and I'd go in there and get little money orders, things of that nature, and I'd see her, but I wouldn't have any kind of like flirtatious conversations with her, and she'd just do her normal stuff across the teller and say things to me, and that was it. And here's your money order, Mr. Davis. Have a great day, and I'd leave. Later on, I went to another branch, another bank, which is closer to my house because I was going to the branch that I met her at because it was closer to my school when I was going to get my master's degree. And so I go in there to get something real quickly from the bank. And then I knew that she was a pleasant person. Like I didn't know her, but I knew she's a pleasant person. Like she had that kind of pleasant vibe with her.
Mm-hmm.
So pushing it forward, I go to this other branch, my branch, normally, and she was there. And she says, "What are you doing over here?" I said, "This is normally my branch." She said, "You're sneaking out on us?" I said, "No, I'm over here." And at that time, she told me that she was going through divorce. And I knew, and I was going through one as well in 2016, but
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want that to be the thing that was going to tie us together. You're going through divorce, I'm going through divorce, and two divorced people are going to come together.
Right,
No,
right.
I didn't say it to her. But later on, she ended up, and I've been out of the dating game for a long time, man. I'm telling you. And so she ended up coming up there to the counter and grabbing her card and writing the number on the back of the card. So I thought it was the number to her office or something like that. I didn't know it was her number, personal number.
Mm-hmm.
So long story short, man, I ended up going to see this other, and she's my wife's Puerto Rican, and so I went to where I was going to school at and talked to another Puerto Rican lady over there, and I said, I think this lady gave me her number, and she said, she said, "Stupido, she likes you." I said, "Nah, there's no way she can like me. There's no way she can like me. We haven't said anything to each other. We've not made any kind of conversation to each other." And I said, "No way." And my daughter, I talked to my oldest daughter at the time too. I said, "This lady, I think, gave me her number." She says, "Dad, I think she likes you." I said, "Nah, we have not said anything to her, or she's never said anything to me." So pushing for a little bit, I ended up trying to text her and say, "Hey, this is Marcus, yada yada," and she didn't text me back. So I was like, "Okay, I'm really not. I'm mixing this signal." Later on, she finally texts me back, or I called. No, she didn't text me back. I called her on the phone. I thought she was going to be. I was going to leave a number, leave my message for her at work on her office line, but she picked up the phone. And I was telling her, "Oh, I didn't know this was your personal line." She said, "Yeah, it's my personal number I gave you." I said, "Oh, I'm sorry for that. I'm Marcus." She says, "I know what it is. I don't give my number out to everybody." I said, "Well, that's how really out of the game I was." So I'm like, "Oh, my bad." I said, "My bad," but I was just trying to tell you, like, when we get together maybe and have lunch or something like that. So we made a date to go have lunch. That first day we went to Bonefish Grill out here in Florida. Now, and I sat across with her eating, and I was just so surprised that this person is talking to me.
Yeah.
And the conversation was hard. It wasn't arduous. We just having a great time, conversational. And I was like, wow, how's this person still out here? Like nobody's talking to you. Like, what's wrong with you? How come you're not with somebody?
Yeah.
So I'm shooting all these kind of bullets at her, trying to dodge every kind of thing and talking to her. We went to have another continuation of the day. She said, "Well, we can go talk. Where you want to go?" I said, "Let's walk around." The place I should walk around out here in Orlando. It's called Disney Springs. And
Mm-hmm.
so I should go down, walk around with her. Started walking around there on that first date, but I was walking like I am, like not trying to get to a job, and she's used to walking fast. So she's 5'2", I'm 6'2", and she was in some stilettos, high heel shoes, and
Mm-hmm.
was walking super fast. And I looked at her and I was like, "Lord, man, this lady's walking so fast, man." I'm like, I'm not trying to sprint. I'm like, I was trying to walk. I'm retired mode. I'm just relaxing and walking.
Yeah.
And so I looked at her first time and I said, "Hey, I don't mean to disrespect you or anything of that nature, but can I hold your hand to slow you down because you're walking too fast?" And she looked at me and smiled at me and held my hand. And next thing you know, we're holding hands, walking around there. We're going to the movies. And it was a microcosm or a major kind of way of what our life was going to be about. It was, we went to see Fast and Furious 7 together. And so everything that we've done has been like that.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm talking to her. Next thing I know, I'm thinking about marrying this lady. She goes to one of her friends, gets ready to go see her. And I'm telling her friends, I'm about to ask her to marry me. She says, "I'm going to her office right now." I'm like, wow, I'm going to see physical therapists for vestibular kind of help. And I'm going to see a therapist like 30 minutes away on the other side of town. And I'm in there seeing these people and I'm talking to them, having small talk with this physical therapist and all that type of stuff. And I said, "Yeah, I'm going to ask her to marry me." And the lady says, "Oh, are you going to ask Katana. My wife's name is Katana. You talking about asking Katana? I'm like, who are you? How'd you know this information? She says, I was just today talking to her in her office today. You're talking about Katana. I was like, yeah, but like, how did you know that's who I was talking to? So that was one of those green lights for her and I to say, continue on. That was God's way of letting me know that it's okay,
That's
that I'm
beautiful.
with you. It's different. And so that's what ended up happening. And I did something different. I asked her to marry me in the middle of where I used to walk at, where we walked at.
Mhm.
I got on one knee and to marry me. And I never seen somebody with a different kind of look in their eye and a different kind of walk. She seemed to be on cloud nine, if there was a cloud nine,
Mhm.
walking around there. So it's a beautiful thing, but she understood because she has an autoimmune type of disease as well. She had fibromyalgia. She has fibromyalgia that she has to fight through.
Yeah.
And so I think it took her having that for her to understand that I needed somebody who could understand that there are going to be some good days, some bad days, some upside down days for me.
Yeah.
But she understood,
You
understood that, yeah,
you
got to
know,
be in the same for each other.
I hear that so much, Marcus, that, people that end up divorced, that they end up, if they end up remarrying, they find somebody with a chronic disease, because people understand. They might not have MS, but they understand the chronic part. They understand that there's
Sure.
good days, bad days, there's struggles, and that's just awesome, and that's awesome that you didn't give up, and actually she kind of flirted with you first, and because you were out of the
Yeah,
dating game, and that's cool.
it was
That's
a
an awesome
time.
awesome story, dude.
And what's crazy about that, and if I can jump in here real quickly, is that because of that, God really knew that I needed somebody who had that. I wasn't looking for anybody. My
Mhm.
best friend out here, my brother out here, he let you know that I said, man, I don't want any woman to ask me for anything. Just got out of a 30-year marriage relationship. I don't want nothing from nobody. I'm free. I can do whatever I want to do. So I'm not asking for anybody to be able to do anything for me. So by that time period, I was like, man, I don't want to talk to a lady. I'm ready to go out of country. I'm thinking about moving to living in Costa Rica, thinking about living in a whole nother uh, country and
Mhm.
like maybe overseas. So I'm thinking about all these type of things. That was my mindset was that. So this was like out of the blue,
Yeah.
right here presented herself to me. And I was like, wow, you were here all the time and I didn't really recognize you.
Yeah.
And I did and I didn't because my mind was on something totally different. Now I'm trying to get myself together and trying to get myself healed. First time in my life as an adult that I'm on my own. I was like, okay, now I have to figure this out as being an adult on his own with children and all that type of stuff, but understanding that my children, I had to let them know that this is going to affect you all, but it's not about you all.
Yeah.
And so I had to let him know that the dad needs this for himself because I've gone through a long time, a lot of wars. And so I said I needed this for myself. So I wasn't looking for it, but God knew what I needed. And I needed somebody who was going to be able to talk and be transparent and understand that I'm not just what I look. Because I may look like I'm healthy. I may look like I'm strong. I may look like all this stuff, but there's some stuff that's going on that it could be great one day and next day it could be down and up and down and change and left
Yep.
and right. So she really had the empathy to be able to understand, like, yeah, I understand. I hear you.
It's
And that's what
awesome.
I just needed.
Yep.
Yeah, it really was.
That's
Was.
awesome, man. Awesome. Marcus, man,
It really is.
I can sit here and talk to you for another hour, my friend, man. I would love to have you on.
Actually,
I would love to have you on again, man. Is there anything that you want to say? I mean, you got long, you're as long as me. Me and you have like a lot of the same mentality. I know a lot of the conversation that we have, it's like we're right on the same page. Can
yeah.
just go ahead and give me like how do you stay motivated? You're going on 30 years with this freaking disease. How do you stay motivated? How do you stay positive every day and just keep on fighting with this thing?
Man, we really from when I first got diagnosed, I was out there seeing good friends of ours that I had at that time out there in Missouri. And she would tell me, his wife would tell me, she says, whatever you're getting, whatever diagnosis they're telling you, just curse it to the root. And you have to make sure you keep your belief system in a way that you want to see yourself and how you want to see yourself get through. And so I had to make up in my mind, do I want to allow what they're saying to be my final epitaph? Do I want that to be the last thing that I'm doing is because of what they said? I chose not to do that. I choose to say that if I'm going to go through this, it's going to go through it my way. I'm going to believe in the one who created me, and the one who created me is God for me. And I said, I just want to let God make sure He writes the end to the script, into the story. And whatever I'm going through, it will change. Whatever I'm going through, will get better because he owns the rights to make sure that if he says I'm healed, then you can't lie. So somewhere in that, there's got to be some kind of healing. So I'm just working up every day saying I'm living off your grace today. And I'm grateful for that. I'm thankful for that. I don't look at what I can't do any longer. I look at what I can do. And at that time, there's a lot of different things that I was not able to do, but what I could do, I was doing them. So I don't look at the full scope of just this, I've got MS and it's over. No, I look at this MS, part of my badge, part of my cross, part of my cover that I got to drink from. But I understand this, that I got a choice in the matter. And the choice in the matter that I can either push myself through it, believe myself through it. It's not saying that it's easy. I'm not saying that it's always rainbows and candies and all that type of stuff. I'm just making up in my mind that each day I'm going to get through this. If he gives me another day and I wake up, it's not going to be like, what's this today? Yahtzee. What kind of syndrome am I going to have? No, I'm grateful that I'm up because there's a lot. So I look at it half full until it overflows. So I look at my cup full until it overflows and saying, whatever I get, that's what my cup is. And I'm going to make sure I do the best of that. When I get to heaven one day, I'm not going to get there on a full tank. I'm going to get there on an empty tank. I'm going to spend every bit of my gas I can, the energy I can to make sure that I'm doing something that's going to glorify him and to make sure that somebody gets an opportunity to see something different that they may have not seen before. And a guy who's just like them, who goes through things for different things, and not because of the calling of my life that he does special things for my life. No, I just have to make up in my mind that I'm going to get through this and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to do something today that's going to hopefully glorify him and shed him in a better light than how I can put myself. So it's no special thing for me. I just want to make sure that I glorify him, that I want to make sure that I get there with everything that I do on a given day, that if it's tomorrow's my day, then I want to make sure that he says, well done.
Yeah.
So that's where my mindset is.
I
Try
love
to
it.
push through it.
I love it, Marcus, man. I love it, man. We got to appreciate every day we get with this
Yeah.
disease, man. And you got to
Yeah.
enjoy life. I thank God every day that I get up and I'm able to get out of my bed. I'm still
Yeah.
able to get out of my bed. I don't need a crane to come in and put me into a wheelchair. I can still get out of my bed on my own. I'm very grateful for that, because there are MSers that are in that wheelchair, 24 hours a day. They can't get out of it. So,
Yeah.
you gotta take what you get with this disease and use it because you never know when it's going to be gone.
Man, that's a touchdown right there with that saying. That's a home run right there, sir. You got to. And that's just something that you either choose to do or you don't choose to do. You can choose not to or to choose to do. And I just make up my mind that I may not be able to get out of bed fast. I may not be able to do a sit up because I don't know what's going on with these hip flexors and this abs. They're not connecting at the same sheet as music, but I roll. And so I roll and I get out, I get out. So I'm just going to do whatever I can, use whatever I can to make sure I'm doing something going forward. So I don't look at what I can't do. I look at what I can,
Yeah.
and I can still roll. I can still put a foot down. I may not be able to go fast. I can't run a 4.5, but I can walk 25.7 or something like that.
Right. You got that right, man. You
I'm gonna
got,
get there, man. So I'm
yeah,
grateful, man.
yeah, you got that right, brother. Man, Marcus, I
Yes,
want to
sir.
thank you so much for coming on my podcast, man. I just love talking to you, dude. I will have you on whenever you want to come back on to talk about this disease. I think you just got so much good stuff to say, and I really appreciate you so much, man.
Brian, man, I appreciate you as well for allowing me to come on your podcast. I really appreciate it from the heart, man. You're my brother, man. And not only just my brother, man, I'm here as well for you as well. Whenever you need me, man, I'm one phone call away, man. I guarantee you that. Guarantee you that.
I appreciate you, man. All right, if you want to follow me on TikTok, you can find me MS Michigan Man 64. You can also find me on Instagram, MS Michigan Man 64, and follow me on Facebook, Brian Wallace out of Brunswick, Ohio. Until the next episode, this is MS Michigan Man. Brian, I am out.